Welcome back, baseball family. Like we said, we have Josh Trout with us. He is an artist, and his work is fantastic and amazing, and Brig and I love it. So we wanted to bring him on and talk to him. So, Josh, my first question for you, first off, thank you again for joining us. But
Yeah,
I'm curious, when did you first start getting into art? Were you drawn as a kid, or did you get
three
older and just
years
kind of
old. That
3 years
was
old?
yeah.
Oh,
I have a house painting at 3 years old. Um,
You still have it.
I do. Yeah, it's framed,
Yes.
watercolor,
that's awesome.
worth millions.
Yeah, of
No,
course it is.
It's a one of
I've
one, of
always
course.
been into art. I took some little side art classes when I was real little, probably under 10, I'm guessing. And then junior high is really when I kind of shifted into, all right, I want to do this more. But at that point, it still wasn't serious. Started into comic book art, some wildlife art, and just sports art. And then high school, really, I mean, I took every art class I could because one, they were easy for me. and
Yeah.
I took sculpture, I took architecture. I actually wanted to go into architecture, and something changed my senior year where I got super bored with it and decided I'm just going to go with art. And so that's when I started looking around for art colleges. And then uh, talent wise, I saw from junior high to high school, I saw a jump. And then high school to college, I saw a jump. Um, and then as soon as I got done with college, I didn't do art for 15 years.
Whoa.
No way.
Yeah.
Like at all, nothing at all.
No, I did one painting for two paintings for weddings for friends. That's it.
What can we ask? What was the gap for?
Life and wanting to go out all the time and
Mm-hmm.
friends, partying, that kind of stuff. And I lived with roommates. I lived alone, so all those things together just didn't really push me into wanting to like sit down and sketch or draw or paint or nothing. When there's always stuff going around all the time with friends and stuff like that, it's like I don't want to sit here and do that necessarily. But then 2015 is when I was like, I'm just wasting talent. And at that point, I hadn't really expanded on it. I stopping in college, I look back and I'm like, man, I wasted 15 years.
Mm.
Where could I have been if I had been doing that then? All that
Yeah.
time.
Right. Yeah.
But
Jeez.
That's
I
crazy.
made up for it. Lost time. I think I've fast tracked it pretty well in the last 7 years. So
Well, that's good.
Well, and you're connected with Tops, right? They contracted you for a whole
yeah.
segment.
So that that didn't happen until 2018. 2015, I wanted to get back into art, but I needed a purpose. And I've always explained this to people. Like some people can sit around, they do sketches, they can do paintings, and they just have all these, half done paintings or full paintings sitting around. I need some sort of purpose for that. I just can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So a friend of mine went to the All-Star game, and he sent me some pictures of an artist there that was airbrushing on baseballs. And he's like, you could do this. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that. So that was my drive. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to try one. So I did a David Ortiz and posted it. People liked it. They asked, hey, will you sell this? I created an artist page on Facebook. And because I didn't want to use my personal page, I never post anything to my personal page. So I created the artist page, started posting. In 2018, I joined Instagram because I wanted to try to expand, get more exposure. And when I joined Instagram, searching through all the photos, I just started seeing all these sketch cards, and I had no idea what they were. And you see a lot of Star Wars, a lot of fantasy type sketch cards, saw baseball as well. So I started reaching out to artists and following artists that I thought their styles were really great, or I love their realism. And they started telling me, I mean, I was asking questions, just basically cold calling people like,
Right.
hey, how do you get into this? What are these? Tell me more type deal. And, a lot of them were very, very nice in explaining different stuff. Hey, just start posting do your own, post it. I joined a ton of sketch card groups on Facebook. And that's where there's just this whole community. I had no idea. And being a card collector when I was a kid, I collected Bo Jackson. And having that joy at a young age, and then now seeing all these baseball cards that were like artists drawing on, I'm like, this is really cool. Like, I want to do this, or at least attempt to it, and find out how are these artists getting hooked up with Topps,
Yeah.
And then I think at that time I was Googling everything I could, and I found a application through Topps that you could submit. So I did a Luke Skywalker and a Mike Trout as my first two sketch cards. They're on, the same size as a card. And I think those are what I submitted. I don't know if they saw that and then contacted me. I'm assuming so, but I know they also have scouts in some of these sketch card groups. And I posted those in those groups as well. And because of that, that's when I got an invite from Topps to take part in the 2019 museum collection. Right before that, I got contacted to do a historical space set with Viceroy Card Company. So that was my first introduction into sketch cards, was doing this, the space art. So the guy contacted me and said, hey, you have a realism look, and that's what we want for all these space sets. And so you could do, astronauts and that kind of thing. I did do a lot of galaxy type stuff, and those were pretty well received as well. But the baseball, I mean, working with Topps was what I wanted to do, and from there, I was still doing the painted baseballs. I had gotten into painted footballs, and I had even done 2 bats as well. So I'd already kind of
That's awesome.
dived into what all I can do with the sports memorabilia side. But the top stuff was just like, okay, here's another, avenue that I can portray my artwork in.
Yeah, and you're still hooked up with Topps, right? They still have you doing stuff every
year. Yeah, the artists are contracted per set, so it's not like you're working full time for them. They'll send out an invite for a set. I've declined a lot of sets because I just don't have the time. I work a full time job, and these sets, their timelines. Sometimes the first couple sets I did, first couple of years for museum, the timeline was like 3 months, 2 to 3 months, and that you're working on them. And then 2022, I had 5 weeks. So,
holy cow.
Wow. And how many cards are they asking you to produce in that amount of time?
As many as you can. But there are a lot of artists that will do, especially in the Star Wars side, they're doing 100 or more. And that's just, to me, that's crazy. But for Topps, I told them, okay, I'll try to do 40. And the first year I did 45, because you do what Topps wants you to produce for them. And those originals go into the product. So then collectors can pull those one-on-one hits. And then part of our compensation is we get APs or artist proofs. And then those we can sell on our own. So I did 45 total. I kept 5, or I chose 5 that I wanted to get back. And so I sent them all in. They approve them because MLB still has to approve them. And then they sent the 5 that I chose back. Luckily, I got all the 5 that I chose. There's lots of artists that will get not the ones they chose back, which I don't know why. If it's a Topps mess up, or if it's, maybe they weren't approved and so they send a different one back. I don't know. But then those 5, and then I could sell. And that's really how I get compensated for working for Tops.
Okay.
Interesting. How long does it take you to
Yeah.
do one?
When I first started, I think about 4 hours was what I was doing, and I was asking, "Is this about right?" And you know, sketch cards were supposed to be like half hour.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
But I mean, it's definitely raised time wise, because there's artists that are spending more time, and now I know I've spent over 10 hours on a card easily.
Whoa.
Because I'm
Wow.
now incorporating 5 different mediums in the cards that I do. So I'll do
Tell us about that.
Copic markers or Copic markers, however they're alcohol markers, and then I'll do a little bit of colored pencil, some acrylic paint, some watercolor, and I'll do airbrush as well.
Jeez. All on one project.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
So I
You
really find that being able to do that full array of mixed media. There's been times where I'm working on, for an example, I was doing Pete Alonso last year, and it just wasn't coming out the way I wanted. So I actually did most of it in acrylic, just because I could cover up some stuff that I didn't necessarily like, especially if the alcohol markers are getting blotchy or the stock is not a good stock. And going back to when I said I only work on a couple sets for Tops is because I got spoiled by working on museum collection right away. Museum collection is like the top, because their card stock is a 75 point stock. It's really great for all different kinds of mediums, and the markers take really well. Some of the other products, other Top series that comes out, the cards are very thin and flimsy, and alcohol markers sometimes are blotchy, or paint doesn't work very well. There's all kinds of stuff. And I don't know. I tell people, well, now I feel like a stock snob because I'll only work on the one.
Yeah.
But it works for me, and I don't want to deviate from that.
So I'm going to show the one I bought really quick. For those of you watching on YouTube, I bought this one from Josh. It's Ken Griffey Jr. Can you tell us about this one?
So yeah, when people, I'm contracted with Tops, but the City Map series that you're showing is not Tops affiliated at all.
Right.
So the reason why I got into the City Map series is because I've always loved the either the modern street maps or the modern city maps, and so there was another artist that I had seen he would order prints of a city, and then he would do colored pencil over top. And I have a background in graphic design, and printing, large format printing, flatbed printing. So I kind of knew I would take a different approach with that. And when I was ready to start doing that, I actually shifted, and I tried painting on newspaper first. And that was just because I'm a Husker fan, and Scott Frost was hired at Nebraska, and our Omaha paper did this big spread of him, and it was kind of like a comic book style. And I was like, all right, I want to paint something over this. So it was the same kind of transition, because I wanted to paint something over top of the city map, but I switched to this. And then I came back to the city map. My first one I did was a George Brett. So I downloaded a digital file of the map, and then I flatbed printed it at a local printer. And that way I can choose what stock I want. So I have control over that, which obviously, like I just talked about with museum collection, that's important to me. So I can choose a stock that I know will work for all the mediums I want to use on it. And then I do the artwork over top. So that was George Brett was my first one. The Ken Griffey Jr. that you just showed was second to last one. I just finished back in September a 16 by 20 Ken Griffey junior. And I have more. People are always, I do some local card shows and people are saying, hey, you should do this player and this player. Yeah, I know.
Working on it, all right?
I have to do them. I have to physically draw them.
Yeah.
But I have so many names that people want me to do, but it's time. So
how do you decide which player to do then? Is you tally them up, or do you pull that name out of a hat, or what?
So I don't know why I did George Brett first, to be honest. It might have been for, I don't know, because I'm a huge Jordan fan. So
yeah,
I did 2 Michael Jordans directly after I did the Kansas City one. And then I took part in a online Negro League baseball museum campaign, I guess.
cool.
So I did 2 originals. I did a Satchel Paige and I did a Hank Aaron. And the Satchel Paige I had finished before the campaign started. So I put that up. It was a week-long campaign. It was through Instagram and Twitter, and people could bid on the original. So I did that, and then that entire week of the campaign, I worked and posted daily the progress on the Hank Aaron one, and then auction that off at the end. Wow. So after I make the originals, then I will do very limited edition prints of, and that's what you got.
Yeah, this is number 20 of 100 signed. I love the gold that you sign everything in. That's awesome, and it's killer. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I really, really love it. I almost gave it to Brad.
Oh, sorry.
But I couldn't do it.
Do you have to get like licensing from Major League Baseball to do big league, like current and former big leaguers, or is that just something like since you're making art?
Everybody always asks that. You can, as an artist, you can do originals all day long. But I wanted to do something. If you go and look at any artist's work, they have some sort of prints they do. Yeah. Whether they are licensed by MLB, which costs a bajillion dollars.
We know.
At least
we know.
I think that's bottom line, right? Bajillion.
So the kind of the rule is just stay a small amount. Make it limited edition. So you're only making those for the Satchel Paige. I only did 25, his jersey number. So I try to stick with jersey numbers, or I try to stick right around 50. The Griffey was the first one I actually did 100, and that was kind of by mistake. I ordered too many, and then I was like, well, I guess I'm doing 100. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. But where you get in trouble as an artist is when you do open edition, meaning, if you have a website and somebody says, hey, I want this, you get it. It's not signed, it's not numbered or anything like that. It's just you ordered, you get it. Or if you start taking your artwork and printing it on T-shirts, which I actually see a lot of artists doing. I don't think that's allowed, but people can come after you at least. Or you're printing them on mugs or calendars or that kind of stuff. That's when it becomes merchandise. And I was told just stay away from that. But there's a lot of gray area. I do know some athletes can go after artists for working on something with them or doing something of them, and then it's just kind of a cease and desist. But I'm not making millions of dollars.
Right. Though you should be. Let's be completely honest.
Right. I should.
You should be. Your art is that good. It really is.
It truly is.
I appreciate
it. Truly is.
Okay, Brad's got some stuff in front of him.
I was gonna say, do we want to show this off? So Josh, I have to be honest with you. I got the packages and I was like, what's this? It's addressed to the podcast. I didn't know. So I texted Brig. I was like, do you know what this is? And he didn't respond. I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna break into it. So I opened it
like 10 minutes.
Brig, you got to be ready and waiting.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
So this is amazing. Like this Griffey card. My lighting is not great, but it is signed by Josh. It's amazing. It comes with a certificate of authenticity. and it's numbered 8 of 15, Brig. 8
What?
of 15. Yeah. I
So
love
good.
this card, by the way. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
I had a little for 2022. I went on a little run of players with the specs. So I did an Arenado, I did a Fred McGriff, and I thought there's one more. But so I had the Arenado and the Griffey chosen as a reprint. So Topps, going back to the Topps stuff for museum collection, Topps will do a 50 card insert set, which they call them like museum canvas, which is what that was. And they will choose 50 cards out of all the artist submissions, and they will reprint them as an insert. So museum collection is like a $400 product. You get 4 packs, 20 cards, so it's not cheap. And then you get, and that's a 1 box, and you get one of those canvas reprints in a box. So they are somewhat rare, but I had 17 cards chosen this year for 2022, and I had 20 chosen last year. And then the first 2 years I was with them, 2019 and 2020, I had 12 chosen. So I'm doing pretty good on percentage of
I'd say,
instances. So that's really cool. And part of the artist compensation is if your card is chosen, you get 25 copies to do with whatever you want with them. So the first 2 years I just signed one out of 25, and then 2021 and 22, I started replicating what the Project 70 and Project 2020 artists were doing. And they were doing a lot of the artist autos. They would sign them in different colors. Some artists were doing like 6, 7, 8 different colors. And I'm like, I don't want to saturate this. I only have 25 cards to work with. So very, very limited. Whereas, those artists are doing like 1,500 cards and they're signing.
Holy cow.
On one version, right?
Right.
Wow.
So I decided, okay, I'm now sticking to about 3, and I try to replicate also the color parallels that are in the set. So for 2022, Emerald was the 101. So that's what I signed my 101 in green. And then Ruby, I decided to do 5, and then the Amethyst or purple, I did the 15. And then I price them out, a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
The 101s go right away. I mean, I have one guy that's probably bought 20 of my 101s.
Whoa.
That's
awesome.
He just wants them, It's just fine. But
that's got to be like the highest compliment, right?
Right. Yeah. And they're less than buying an original, which I can also be commissioned for. But because that's also part of, like I was mentioning before, the APs, artist proofs. So now I am at a point where I don't really do the cards ahead of time, or when I have to turn the cards back over to Topps. I just let them know, like, hey, I have these blanks, and it's more lucrative if I keep the blanks and then let the commission come to me, and then they have a request, and then I make sure, like, hey, I can draw anybody that's current on Major League roster, and if they're retired, I just have to make sure Topps has the rights.
Right.
But I still get people say, "Can you draw my kid?" And I say, "No." Like, it's a licensed Topps card, that. Or the funniest one was, "Can you draw my dog with Trevor's story?"
I was gonna ask if somebody asked you to draw their dog.
No.
Of course they did. That's like the joke of all artist jokes ever. Can you do this with my dog?
That's so funny.
Yeah. So, and that's something that, in our contract, we're not supposed to do that, but I know artists do that, and I think I've even had a conversation. I said, it's, you know, we're spending hours on these cards. Compensation is what makes it worth it. And this is our only way of getting compensated, really. So it's better for us, for you to allow it, as long as we stay within the guidelines of what we're supposed to be doing. I don't see any problem. And, my contact, he totally agreed. He's like, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You got.
Well, Brad's got another box, right?
Going. I do
have
have
another box, right? Josh sent this box. We don't. Neither of us know what this is. Josh, tell us what's going on here.
I can't see it.
The big package.
Oh, I know what that is.
I went ahead. I busted it open a little bit because I didn't want to take 5 minutes of everybody's time getting into it, because I have a hunting knife that is only used to open boxes, and that's what I used on this.
But Brad, before we open it, let's tell everybody what this is. This is going to be a giveaway to one of our listeners, right, Josh?
And I've got it out now.
Yeah.
It's amazing. By the way,
look at Brad; he's so excited. So
I might enter the giveaway myself.
That's collusion, Brad.
Well, you could give away the card if you wanted to, if you have some card collectors and you want to keep that.
The problem is I have somewhere. I already have somewhere in mind to put the card, and then I could just put this next to it.
Yeah, you could.
So this is the same one Brig had. This is awesome. This is amazing.
Awesome.
I love these
so
on
much.
the maps. It's so cool, and especially my love for Seattle too. Like, that's seriously awesome.
What number did you get?
This one is 30 of 100.
Okay.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. Baseball family, stay to the end of the episode, and we'll tell you how you can enter for your chance to win that. This is amazing. Thank you, Josh, for doing that. That's seriously incredible.
It was my gift to you for having me on. So. And you helped give some good shout outs for me for my last big show I did, so I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. Tell everybody where they can find your work if they want to buy directly from you instead of trying to go through Tops.
Well, the only way you can get any of my work you can't get it through Tops because they don't actually sell my stuff on their site. So eBay is your best bet, but going directly to me obviously helps me. So
right, that's what we want.
Yes. you can follow me or message me on any of the social media platforms. So Facebook, I'm at Josh Trout Paintings. Instagram and Twitter and TikTok is the letter J Trout Paintings.
Perfect.
So I don't have a website yet. That is something that I am in dire need of to get going and moving on. But I don't have time.
Yeah.
Don't blame you. That takes a lot of time.
It's
a whole lot of time.
And I'm obviously a little bit of a perfectionist, and so I'm going to sit and contemplate every little thing.
Or you could commission it and just be unhappy with it, right?
I have looked into that, and man, websites are expensive.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
yep,
that's exactly right. All right,
sure.
Josh, is there anything else you want us to know, or any questions you have for us before we let you go?
No, I mean, this is a conversation that I often have with, if you're interested in buying an original from me, especially Topps card related, what I tell people is you're buying an original piece of artwork first, and then you're buying the card second, and it's a licensed product from Topps. So I had this conversation a lot at shows, especially if I have an original there with me. And so I did for 2022, I didn't do a Bobby Witt or a Julio Rodriguez for what went into the product to Topps, because they weren't on the team yet when I was working on the set, which is before the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a single pose for both of those players, and I did a double pose for both of those players as part of my APs, artist proofs, that I could sell directly from me. So I've sold the Julio and the Bobby Witt single pose. I still have the double poses. So, but at the shows, people will look at those and I'll tell them a price, which these prices are more because they are the rookie card. They're going to be the only rookie card I do of those players.
Yeah.
It's a licensed product, and I spent a lot of time. So
Yeah.
you're
You
you're
can probably
buying
up the price
original-
on those Julio cards too.
Yeah.
What's that?
You can probably up the price on those Julio cards now too.
I did price it out quite a bit more. And so people, I tell people what the price was that I was asking for, and I said you can make an offer as well. And a lot of them were like saying, okay, well, there's a lot of people that were interested, but they said I don't have that money on me. And then getting to talking about it with them, I said, what would you consider a Julio 1-of-1 card go for now? And then they were like, okay, yeah, same kind of range. And I said, but you're getting a photo with that, or you're getting an auto, which I understand an auto,
Sure.
or a patch or whatever, but you're getting an original piece of artwork that nobody has. And, and now you've had this conversation with the artist, you're making that connection. There's a lot more that's involved with it. I also will do a little collector box with my APs. One, it looks nice. I do a little printing and put it on top, of the cover, and then it also protects it shipping. So it was meant to just help ship it easier and look really good. But now people are like, I'm just going to keep the box because the box is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you're buying that experience as well when you're buying an original. And I'm working on it. I message back and forth. I do mock-ups for you. So there's a lot involved with that process. But yeah, I take requests for those. My waiting list is well into next year, and that's partly due because I have like a waiting list of like 10 to 12 baseballs. I'm also starting to work with Fanatics. So, and I'm doing painted baseballs with them. They actually got my first baseball yesterday.
Nice.
So hopefully that'll start hitting. At least I can share it. I don't know who buys these, but but at least having that connection is awesome. That's another connection. So yeah, I try to do. I have my hands in a lot of different things right now, but
that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
good for you, man. All right, baseball family. Well, thanks for joining us for this conversation. Again, stay tuned for just a few more minutes, and we'll let you know how you can get your hands on that giveaway that we're going to do. We're going to thank Josh for coming on the show, and go look up his art. Find him on all the social media platforms that you're following. Follow him on those, and get yourself some Christmas gift stuff, right? Because that's what's happening right now. Is Christmas gifts are all the rage, and you got just a little bit of time left to get yourself Christmas gifts. So
yeah, and a good Christmas gift idea are the artist autos on the cards. You're not paying for an original, but you get to support my work. You get artwork from me, well, in a printed form, but it is on a card.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.